Hi everybody, I'm Kelly. Thanks for coming by. I'm going to try and make a wall hanging from what I have left over from a panel. I'll show you guys what's left. I believe I got this in 2018. Robert Kaufman Company usually makes panels every year for Christmas, some in gold and some in silver. And I believe they come with 8 of these blocks on them. I can't remember exactly, I'm sorry. But I'm going to see if I can figure out what to do with one of these, maybe the deer. We'll go from there. When the fabric comes off the bolt, it's not always square. So you got to try to make it as square as you can before you use it. Now this might be a little bit hard to see because I can't get super close. But if I line up a ruler, like putting it on the corner, see the gold part there? I'm putting the ruler, corner of the ruler right there. And it lines up all the way down the side here perfectly. And it's pretty good along the top of the gold here. So that's not too bad actually. But if I run my stiletto along this 9.5 line, it lines up along the gold there. It budges in a little bit there and budges in a little bit there. So this line is not square. And this one goes along about 5/8, and it's not that bad actually. It's relatively square. Anyway, though, what you do, if it's really, really wonky and out of whack, and there's a big wrinkle in this too, so I gotta press it anyway. Give it a little spritz of water. I got one of these little spray bombs. Just wet it down. Get it damp, and then put your needle. Unfortunately, you get a wet ruler, but okay. So that's pretty good there. There, and that just relaxed it now. Even just a bit of water. It's better than it was before. That's lined up along there really good, and that's lined up along there. Okay, it's not 100% perfect, but it's not wildly skewed off. So I think I will work with it. So. Lift the ruler up, get it out of the way, and I have my iron on dry, first of all. Just kind of gently press it into position, now that you've got it how you want it. Sometimes you have to jiggle the fabric more than others. This one's not too bad, actually. So gently press it. Masses of steam. I'm not even pressing down very hard. I'm just gently scooching the iron across the top of it. Okay. Now, it has to dry without touching it. So I don't go and jiggle it back out of position. It's as good as it's going to get it, and I have to just leave it. But what I want to do, I dug out all my Christmas fabric that has gold accents. This here, that's pretty much a seam allowance at this point in time. And I will cut as close as I can down the middle of that to have a seam allowance. I might do a scant 1/4 inch, so there might be a little bit of red showing, but I have enough red fabric that I'll probably just make a border with red, so you won't even be able to tell. I'll go through my fabrics with you guys for the next round and see what I can do. In the meantime, it just has to dry. I've got a pretty big stash of Christmas fabric that has gold accents. It's all Robert Kaufman, so it all matches. I've done it for various Christmas projects over the years. I did one for myself. So let's go through it. I kind of like this. This is a nice red. Probably would be a good border, and I have enough. It's not a huge piece, so I could do it. If I cut it for 2 inches, 2.5, pardon me, wide, then it'll be about 2 inches finished. It could also be binding. I don't know, we'll see. That has a possibility. This little bow stuff is cute, but I don't know if it really matches the green. Let's have a look. Here, can you see that? Make sure it's in the middle. It's not bad. I need a good backing too, so that has a possibility. I don't think I have enough of this red swirly left. That's just kind of scrap. Let's put that in my scrap box, actually. I got loads of this one, but there's a lot of gold in it and it almost shows up too pink. So no, I don't think that one's going to work. There's a lot of gold in this one. That's a bit backing possibility. It's kind of pretty. I've used this for backing a ton because I had loads of it. It just has gold stars on it. Matches in here, so that would be cute to do that. That'd be good backing. And I got tons of it, so that's not a problem. This one's kind of pretty. Trees and stuff, snowflakes. I don't think it goes. Nah, no, I don't think it goes. It's pretty, but it doesn't go. I've got the green swirly like the red. Not really loving it. Yeah, that's a no. Okay, there's my no pile over there. That's my possibilities. Backings. I'm really liking this one so far for the border around it. We'll see. Maybe even binding. Poinsettias. Gorgeous. Maybe. Maybe. This one. I don't think so. This is also an excellent possibility for borders or binding. It just has a hint of gold. It's all kind of different patterns of red. That has a good likely possibility, and there's enough of it I can put it for backing too. And I don't like that one for the same reason I didn't like the red one. And no, that's two. I don't think it goes. The stars are better. Okay. No. And I'm abandoning the poinsettias as pretty as it is, so that's another no. Okay. So, backing. Sure. Tons of it. Let's do that. Border. Binding. This is close enough to this that it will look good next to it as binding, I think. Although you can do binding that's totally different too, and that looks really cool too. Maybe I'll do binding with that. There's an idea. Okay, we'll play around with that and make a decision. Sorry about yammering on there while I think. The fabric's all dried up now. This is going to be hard to see because, again, it's far away. But I've put a 1/4 inch line on my ruler right along the gold border. So this is not even for starters. It's more than a 1/4 inch, but if I try to get it to 3/8, it's not 3/8 either. So I'm basically going to say that it's a 1/4 inch because it's close enough all the way along. And when I sew it, I'm going to sew it with this side facing up, more or less, if I can do it that way. It's going to be hard. I'm going to have to do it like from the back because this is the right side, but I have to be able to see that line right there, and that's going to be my sewing line right along the edge. So none of this red fabric here will show, but I'll use red fabric for the border. So now let's see if I can cut it more or less the same down between the two. Let's have a look. I'm using my long ruler just to make it not come up short. So if I do 1/4 inch along that, well, that looks pretty good there. Let's line it up along the bottom. That's pretty close. Like I said before, this is not 100% square, but considering I had this kind of folded up wonky in my Christmas box, I'm going to go with it. Okay. That looks pretty good. We'll give it just a hint more, because I got room in between here to make it slightly bigger. Okay. Hold. Carefully open this. Razor sharp. Be careful. Cut. Voila. Now we'll put put that one out of the way for now. I might use that for something down the road. I don't know yet. So I also have to trim up these sides here, and then we'll be ready to carry on. I've got two of the borders on. I'm sorry about the background humming noise. I had to put on the fan in my craft room. It's a bit warmish today. There's not a great air circulation in here. So I've got these strips pressed away from the center toward the strip. And I'm just going to trim off the extra. I'm lining it up more or less on the gold one, just because it's even there, and there's a line on my ruler that looks good this way, and a line on my ruler that looks good that way. So we just go slice and slice. That's little extra bits. And same on this side. Make sure it's square all the way through. Or as square as I can get it, since this was not exactly perfectly square. I had to do the best I could. That looks pretty good that way. Just a touch. I'll cut that off. Okay, there we go. Trim and trim. Okay, I've got borders on. Now, I have to apologize, the background noise is the fan. It's a little bit warm in the craft room, and I also have to turn on the light so we don't have funny, weird lighting in here. So, I've got this ruler lined up so that we're square here, and as square as I can get it down that side of the panel. And I'm just going to put my weight on so this doesn't move. And I'm going to trim. Okay. Now the same procedure on the other side. And my seams are pretty good along there because I use that as my sewing line. But a general rule of thumb is if the background of your panel is red, use red. Because if I slip up a little bit, actually I did right there. There's a little tiny bit of the red from before. You can't tell because my background's the same color. Nobody will ever know. I didn't used to know all these little tricks, and then I figured some stuff out with taking classes and stuff. Okay, so that's lined up square there. That's a good line over there. And that's a good line along there. Now it actually looks like I gotta trim some of this off. So let me scooch over a little bit here so it's not quite so close. I don't want it that short. I want to take off that part. Okay, still good? Yes. Okay, whoops, wait, almost forgot. Trim. And I got a little smidge right there, because that wasn't perfectly straight. There we go. Okay, plan B. I changed my mind. When I was looking at this, there was a heck of a lot of red. I thought it looked too big. So what I've done is I've trimmed this down to 1 inch all the way around. Gives it a nice cream, green, red going on. I think what I might do is do a border. Now usually when you do borders, you do them like both odd amounts, like a 3 inch and a 5 inch, if you're doing that on quilts, for example. When I've got this extra border on it, it'll come out about 3/4 all the way around. So I'm thinking of doing a border like this. So if I bring it in there, it'll look like that. And this may be 2 inches finished. Let's see what 2 inches looks like. Let me put 2 inches of that on there like that. I might make it too big. This is 11.5 inches right now. An extra 2 inches finished. Let's see, it's 11.25. Yeah, no, that might be okay. It'll be big, but you don't want a little teeny weeny wall hanging either. It looks dumb. Okay, so that'll be 2 inches. And then bring red back into play with this nice darker red with the gold swirlies in it. This has pattern slightly. This is just red swirls. So if we put it like so, and you really only see about 1/4 inch of the binding. It's not very much. So to be like that, with the binding. Yeah, I think I like that actually. Gold, a little bit of green, which is kind of a weird color and doesn't go with the other greens. I'm not sure if that was a mistake with the manufacturing or whatever, but I'm not going to accentuate green because it's the wrong green. Yeah, that looks good. I might actually go 1.5 finished. 2 might be too big. I think I'll do that. I think that'll turn out better. Okay, let's do it. I'm pinning it with these big pins to hold all the layers together so it doesn't shift around. The batting and the backing are a little bit bigger. I put a label on it because this is a gift, but you're not going to see it. Surprise. But what I did to make sure I was straight, I took my long ruler and I folded this up like that. Stuck a bit now. And I made sure that this seam here was butted up against the edge of the ruler, and also made sure that my sewing line along the edge of the label was even on one of my lines on my ruler. Just so that it's not like all lit on the back and looks stupid. If it's slightly off, it isn't really going to matter, but I don't want it all cockeyed this way. Although, maybe that would look cool. A little different. Anyway, I'll get this all pinned, and then we're ready to get the quilting part get going. I've got masking tape marking my quilting lines. I'm going in the middle from there to there. So that distance is 8 inches. There's 4, 2, 6. So I'm going down the right side of the tape. Just through here to anchor the middle part down. And then I'll go around, stitch in the ditch-ish, stitch on the line essentially. Around there, maybe the inner one. And then here, stitch in the ditch, and then I'll run a line of quilting there, or something like that. I'm not sure yet. Middle part first. Anyway, there is my walking foot, and I put a size 90 quilting needle in. I tried it with an 80, and for some reason the thread is breaking, so I don't know why. And that is 40 weight quilting thread. You can always tell with Aurifil because it has a green end. The 50 weight has orange. I pulled the bottom thread up, put it out of the way. My stitch length is right down to 0. Take a couple of anchor stitches. This is what the long arm ladies do. If it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me. Right on the edge, 1, 2. Lengthen my stitch length. I like to do about 2.6 or so. Not too big, not too small. 2.6 is probably good enough. And then we just quilt, down along the edge. Like so. And hope the thread doesn't break like it did before. Well, looks like we're good so far. Fingers crossed, everybody. To the end. One more. Back down to 0. Always tries to move a tad. 1, 2. There we go. Pull it out. Just on my phone for this part here so you can see the quilting better. There's the lines through the middle. I did not want to quilt right on the gold. There's a tiny hint of metallic gold on either side of that yellowy gold band. I didn't want to cover that up, so I went between there. And then I did a stitch in the ditch there. And then I put the tape on this edge and just went all the way around in here. So next I got to make binding. I'm going to make a hanging sleeve for this. I've got this piece of red. The very end is on my 0 mark over here, and it is lined up with a line on my cutting board. The diameter of the wall hanging is 15 inches square, and you want it in just a little bit from the edge. This is also 6 inches wide, because it'll come about a 3 when I'm done. So I'm going to cut it at, let's go 14, because that's actually maybe 14 and a half. Then I got to turn it in a bit. Still pretty much right to the edge. Okay, we'll cut it at 14 and a half. I fold each end under approximately a 1/4 inch, and ran a line of stitching down it just to hold it. Then you fold it, like this, long ways with the right sides together, and you sew it down the long side. And there we have it. Basically a tube. It will get sewn into the binding when I do the binding, and then I'll tack it down on the backing after. But I have to do the quilting first. The table runner is ready to get finished up now. This is the hanging sleeve I made before. There's the seam. I put that on the back. Now, this is covering up the label, so you don't see it. So, on the top, yep, there's the top of the reindeer. It goes right about in the middle. And I'm just going to pin that in place. Edge it up to the edge. And stick a pin in it. And one down here. And one down here. And then we'll make binding. The binding's done. Let me trim off the selvage here. Don't need that anyway. There we go. I cut a 2.5 inch strip, folded it in half, pressed it. I have other quilt videos that explain binding in better detail. You can look back in my quilting playlist and have a look at those if you want to know how to do it. It just gets clipped. Actually, I'm going to start a pin. Leave a nice big long tail. I got way more than I need, so I'm just going to leave a tail flapping. Put the raw edge of that on the raw edge of the front of your project. You stick a pin in it right about there, and that's where I'm going to start sewing. And as I go around, I will sew down the hanging sleeve underneath the binding.
I just have to get this hanging sleeve sewn on. Sorry about the background noise again, the fan's still on. It's warm again today. I have a little tiny knot on the end of this red thread. And I'm going to try and show you guys how to do slip stitch. I just have to tuck this in and hide it just a second. There we go. Okay, tuck that down there. So it's open at the end for sliding in a dowel, whoever the recipient wants to hang it. You don't have to hang it if you don't want to. Sometimes I make stuff with hanging sleeves, sometimes I don't. Well, let's just get a stitch started. Okay, and I'm pretty sure this is called slip stitch. Now try not to bump my phone here, so I got a good angle. Go underneath just a little bit. You always use the color of thread of what you're sewing to. So in this case I'm sewing on the hanging sleeve, I'm using red. You go underneath just a bit and come up and catch right along the edge, just down a little ways from where you just were. It's gone too far that way. Come on, you. There we go. And then pull it just snug. Leave your string down, your thread down. Same thing, out just on the edge. I got a big frigging knot. Come on, it always has to do that. Yoo-hoo. There. And you just kind of keep going like that. You get in a rhythm, sort of. So, that's how I do the end of it. I've already sewed the binding, got sewn on the same way. Just slide it along, stitch a stitch underneath there. And it's pretty much finished. Thanks for watching.